you watch Rings of Power, forget everything that they told you in that, because I may have accidentally fallen into a pit of watching Rachel Maxey videos for like 3 days straight. Greetings, explorers, and welcome to the lore dimension. Today we are making a stop in one of my favorite worlds, the world of Middle-earth.
The world has changed.
To preface this really quick, there is an event coming up in October of this year called the Brandywine Festival. Matt and I first learned about this event through one of Skilltree's live streams that we were tuned into. We very much want to go. It is a Hobbit LARP, and that just screams right up our alley. So we would very much like to attend. We're not sure if we can yet. However, because of this, it has very much been on our minds, and we've been thinking of costume design stuff and character creation stuff. I may have accidentally fallen into a pit of watching Rachel Maxey videos for like 3 days straight before realizing she was one of the co-collaborators on this event. So, oops. So between Skilltree and Rachel, it's been a very Hobbity themed week, so with that in mind, I'm here to talk to you a little bit about Hobbits. Now, not only are they one of my favorite races in Middle-earth, they are who I aspire to be. They're comfortable, they live in holes in the ground, cozy holes. The Hobbit lifestyle is a lifestyle I very much aspire to lead. They value good food and good friends, and really, what else do you need in life? So, to start out, there are 3 main breeds or clans of hobbits. All hobbits originated from these 3 clans, whether directly from one or from a combination of the 3. These clans are the Fallohides, the Harfoots, and the Stoors. Now, real quick, if you watch Rings of Power, forget everything that they told you in that, because they got so much wrong about everything. Anyway, we're not dwelling on that because that's not what this video is about. This video is about hobbits. We'll start with the Fallohides. So the Fallohides were more friendly with elves. They were less shy than their Harfoot counterparts. They preferred songs and language to more handcraft type stuff. So in the context of a Hobbit LARP, if you were going to build a character and you wanted a bard, likely they would probably be a Fallohide. They also tend to prefer hunting over tilling a field, so if you wanted a more hunting profession, probably Fallohides. If you were going for a farmer or a gardener, not a Fallowhide. Definitely not a Fallowhide. They are fairer of skin and hair than all the other hobbits. They are also taller and oftentimes slimmer, so in the range given for hobbits' heights of 3 to 4 feet, Fallohides would be on the taller end. They were more adventurous and, unfortunately, the least numerous of the 3 clans. Next up are the Harfoots. Now, again, forget everything Rings of Power told you about Harfoots. Harfoots are the most normal and representative variety of hobbits. So the Harfoots customs are the ones that were mainly adapted by most other hobbits when they merged, and so most customs and abodes and things like that will have come from the Harfoots. They are most inclined to settle in one place. Just take that in for a second. And they maintained the archaic habit of dwelling in holes in the ground known as burrows or smiles. Smeals? Something like that. Most Shire hobbits at their origin were Harfoots. The Harfoots are also known for being beardless and bootless. So their customs are the ones that led to hobbits being known as these barefoot homebodies, which sounds perfect to me. Now on to the Stoors. Now, the Stoors might be one of my favorite hobbit clans. They tend to be larger and heavier in build, not taller, but more heavy set, and they originated from the upper vales of the Anduin, where they had once lived closely with men. They crossed the Misty Mountains in a great migration sometime in the Third Age and settled between the rivers of Mythythel and Bruinen. Shortly after the Shire was founded, the Stoors migrated again, less far this time, and settled mostly in the East Farthing, near the Brandywine, also known as the Brandywine River. They are also the ones responsible for settling Buckland, which might be a familiar sounding place to you. The Stoors were some of the most unique hobbits in that they could actually grow facial hair. They also have an affinity for water, boats, and swimming, and they were known for wearing boots, especially in colder weather. Now, Frodo is of Fallohide descent, just like Bilbo. This leads to their more adventurous nature, also known as their tookishness. But Frodo is also of Stoor descent on his Brandybuck side, hence he is both cousins with Merry and Pippin. Gollum is a separate version of Stoor that had crossed back over the Misty Mountains after the initial pilgrimage and dwelled near the Gladden Fields, or at least he's a very extended descendant of them. In general, hobbits are very big on gift giving. It was Hobbit custom that on your birthday you at the very least give your parents gifts. Granted, for Bilbo's birthday, he gave everyone gifts. Tolkien even viewed himself as a hobbit, and I don't blame him. Now, looking at more if you're thinking of going to a Hobbit-themed LARP, such as the Brandywine Festival. Obviously, you need to build your character the same as you would with any LARP. To do that, you can create your character to kind of fit you based on some of the things I've already talked about. A couple more things to take into account is what you would want your trade to be. Or do you just want to be a rich person like Bilbo? So this can be used both in physical demeanor. If you don't want to go barefoot and you want to wear boots, you can be a descendant of Stoors. If you are of fair hair, you could be a descendant of Fallohides. If you are a bit of a homebody, Harfoot. Definitely Harfoot. As far as professions, for something like a farmer or a gardener, likely not Fallohide, because they prefer hunting to tilling. More than likely, I'd go with Harfoot, because they like to stay in one place, they like to be settled, and they're the most likely ones to be farmers or gardeners. If you wanted to be something like a fisherman, I'd say definitely a descendant of a Stoor because of how much they have an affinity for water. Cobbler, definitely a Stoor, because they're the only ones documented to wear shoes. So, pretty much any could be a seamstress because clothes are things any faction of Hobbit is going to need. If you want to specifically be a hunter, definitely a descendant of a Fallohide, because they're the only ones specifically stated to have an interest in that. If you wanted to be a builder, someone who builds Hobbit holes, because someone has to, I would say Harfoot, because it was their tradition, and they're the ones that like staying in one place, so they would retain all that knowledge of how to make the holes to last. If you wanted to be some kind of trader, especially with the big folks, the outside folks, likely Fallohides because of their pre-established relationship and their adventurousness. I think for brewers and bakers and candlestick makers, probably any. You could be any. So there's some professions that, if you want to fit your Hobbit lineage to fit more your physical appearance or your personality, then pick a profession that works for any of them. If you want to really lean into a specific Hobbit clan and their culture, you can do that too. For us, personally, I think we're leaning more into Stoors. I know Matt isn't really keen on taking his beard off, and since Stoors are the only ones capable of growing anything on their face, definitely leads towards that. And I, personally, am huge on water. I love streams, I love rivers, I love lakes. And of course, similar to Frodo and Bilbo, you can make any combination of these three clans for your lineage. For example, if you have fair hair and a beard, you could be a Fallohide and Stoor descendant. If you really like being at home, but you also enjoy hunting and the occasional excursion, maybe you're Fallohide and Harfoot. Feel free to dig into it, like the Harfoots did. And make your character your own, but also customize it to fit who you are as a person, because that's what we're gonna do. And fingers crossed we get to go to the Brandywine Festival, or some kind of LARP, something someday. But with that, I think that's pretty much it. I just wanted to sit and have a chat about Hobbits, their history, and how you can use that to make a Hobbit LARP character. If you do make a character, please tell me about it in the comments. I would love to hear about it. If you liked the video or found it helpful, make sure you go down and hit like, subscribe if you haven't already, and turn on notifications. I definitely want to do more sit-down videos like this, hopefully with my husband as well. So make sure that bell is rung so you get notified whenever we post. I hope you'll join us on our next adventure. Rachel has inspired me not only to get more involved with sewing and making costumey bits, but she's also inspired me in my day-to-day life to start dressing more in a hobbity cottagecore vibe, because that's what she does. And I'm a little bit jealous of her wardrobe. So I'm going to start making changes. And the easiest way to do that is by modifying clothes to start with, and then hopefully progressing to the point where I can just make clothes like she does. So thank you, Rachel. You have inspired me massively. I completely forgot which video I was going to talk. Oh my god. Yeah. Yeah. That's the wrong video. I'm fine.